Welcome to this episode of Sunny Silver Linings. Sunny's guest is Robert LaFave. Rob is the COO of ICS, a fast-growing MSP located in upstate New York, where he mentors and leads the company's managers in overseeing the day-to-day operations across all locations. His passion revolves around helping people mature both personally and professionally, while all the while improving methods and processes to achieve greater success for themselves and ICS. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila.
Thank you so much, Todd and Rob. Welcome to my podcast. I truly appreciate you joining me today. And I'm super excited about our conversation today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Very excited.
Yeah, we love ICS and we love team members that interact with us from ICS. It's a great partnership. So first of all, thank you for the partnership. You normally don't find too many companies out there where they are so pleasant to work with. And it's a true partnership. You add value to each other. And ICS, when we look at our client list, our partners list, and ICS is always at the top, and they are so near and dear to us. And that's especially because of with you, Rob, and Kevin, and you guys are wonderful human beings, and it's so much. It's a pleasure to work with you guys.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'd echo the exact same thing. One of the things that we look for in partnerships is organizations that reflect our own core values, our personal core values, as well as our company core values. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with IT by Design and growing. As we grow, you guys have grown with us as well and have played a pretty significant part in that growth. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so yes, I do agree with you, Rob, that cultural alignment, that workplace culture alignment that we always talk about, and both companies have so much in common. And another thing that's common is we are high growth mode companies, hyper growth companies, and it's so much. It's very exciting times at ICS. The way you guys are growing, it's really great to see our partners grow at that pace. And can you give us a quick update? What's happening in the ICS world there? And I know you guys have very ambitious growth plans.
Absolutely. So earlier this year, we were funded by a private equity firm, and it's been a fantastic journey. Right around the time where we, COVID, all the lockdowns and all that stuff. It's been challenging, but it's been fantastic. How has that changed some of the direction and how we plan on growth? Obviously, Kevin, as you mentioned, he's always been somebody with large aspirations to grow the company and, expand our footprint and our mission and purpose, cause, and passion, and has always had a heart to expand through M&A, and we have. With going down the route of private equity, it's really enabled us to fast track some of that vision that Kevin has had with growing through M&A. We still are very much focused on growing organically and being that true trusted advisor to our customers. We're not just trying to grow in just terms of numbers, but stay true to our core values and who we are as people. But it's been very exciting for myself, the leadership team, for those second level of leadership, managers in our company, and just everybody. It's really driving some exciting things in our company.
Yeah, and it takes a village to grow at that pace. And when you talk about Kevin, he's a very, very interesting, very, very innovative leader, and the way he does things, and it's very interesting. The way when you see an entrepreneur, that entrepreneur is a transformational leader. And we belong to, as you know, a peer group together, and it's great to see the way he's doing things and the way he's taking the company. So, and we're so excited about ICS and your team. Now, when you look at this growth, and when you look at this success story, that journey so far, And there's always something that we do right, and something that kind of fuels that growth. And one thing that I know that you and Kevin, you guys always talk about that power of focus. And for example, focusing on your standard solution stack and your tool set. Can you talk to us a little bit about why it is important to stay focused on your core products, your target market, and your tool set?
Absolutely. There's a lot in that question. But if I were, kind of just explain a little bit of our story here. So I would say probably 4 or 5 years ago, when we were really gearing up to go down this route of positioning ourselves to purchase companies, we got really serious about our leadership team and what our leadership team needed to be focused on, and the levels of our organization as it goes down through, because we saw very quickly that we didn't have synergies across the whole company about what was important, even what we were trying to accomplish. I would even say who we were as a managed service provider, what good looked like was just not consistent across the board. And as we matured in that journey, we started putting things in place, from an operations standpoint. One of the things you mentioned was a solution stack, where we would, just as an example, we would constantly get companies that would say, well, we've got this gigantic infrastructure, but we have these problems. Can you come and help us solve it? Oh, by the way, we don't want to change anything in the infrastructure. We just want to call you when we have issues. And at first, right, when you're trying to hit a revenue growth target, right, it's like, absolutely, we'll do that. We'll take that on, no problem, because we weren't focused on the bigger picture. We were focused on, one accomplishing one thing. And it really affected or reduced our effectiveness. And I would even go as far as to say our relevancy, because we were trying to be a lot of different things to a lot of different customers, and therefore we did not execute and show that value consistently across the board. I'm not saying we never showed value. We did, and we got a fantastic team. But to tie a bow around that, one of the things, just as an example of what we have in our organization is a standards committee. And it's a group of technical and non-technical individuals that gets around a table that vote on what needs clarity. Like what's working, that's that 4 helpful list. What's right, wrong, missing, or confused. What's right, wrong, missing, or confused about how we operate and how we execute, right? Does there need to be a standard around it? That's just one of those things that we put in place. That group every single week here to highlight specific things, to put in place in order to position us to execute cleanly, so that everybody across the organization, when they get a ticket to operate or to install a sonic wall or something in our solution stack, they're doing it the same way, that our standard dictates, right? That's just one finite thing, but at the end of the day, it's very important that the organization is in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. If you got people paddling in a different direction and on this side of the boat, and then the people are on this side of the boat, you're not going to go in a straight line,
Yeah, no, that's well said. And I totally agree with that, because if you don't know who you are serving, what are your trademark strengths as a company, and what value you are adding to a set of customers, and why they come to you, not other companies. So it's really, really important to define what core products you have and who you are adding value to, and then just staying laser focused there. And I know that ICS is the EOS shop as well, and you also use that StratUp, the 4 helpful lists that you talked about. And in terms of vision clarity, in terms of culture clarity, in terms of, what is that, 3-year plan, 5-year picture, and how are we going to get there? And then taking time to define success for your team members. That because everyone is contributing to that one goal, that one number, one team, one goal. And in order for any company to do that, you need, first of all, an operating system. and then having everyone's goals aligned. It could be top-down scorecards that everything rolls up to that one number. These different layers are contributing, and they know exactly what they can do to contribute to that ultimate success number. And so do you think EOS helped you, or StratUp helped you to kind of clarify these goals at the company level and also communicate those goals to your teams?
100%. What EOS helped us do, and StratUp as well, in culmination with our facilitator, is it defined what good looked like, right? Not it, but we, through that program, defined what does good look like from that standpoint, all the way down through core values, who we want to be as a company, our purpose, cause, and passion. And the reason why that was important is because there's no shortage of different opportunities. Like if you're somebody, especially like Kevin, that just has one eye open and sees 1,000 opportunities, right, to go in that direction. We have a lot of people in our organization that think that way as well. If you are not centered, if the goal's not defined, right, if who we are as a company is not defined, we could go in 100 different directions in a year, right, and never get any decent traction. And when you define that at the top naturally, and people are on the same page, it boils down to the rest of the company, right? You start to get more of that laser focused, and it starts to become more clear what each, right? You've heard the term, every joint supplies. Do you know what I mean? And to me, it's like I view things in kind of like silos, right? And each team or group of people, right? If you define what their contribution is or what their part that they play in, and each team is supplying, right? Each joint is supplying, you'll hit your goals. You'll accomplish your goals as long as it's clearly defined. So that's what EOS and StratUp really helped us do, for sure.
Yeah.
And continues.
And when you look at service delivery organization, so now if you look at things from that division perspective, is there any major challenge that you had prior to implementing the EOS or for helpful list? And is there anything that that you want to share from the service delivery perspective? So what it means in terms of your delivery division?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think I'm just trying to think back when we first went down this road. It was that journey of all leadership kind of getting on the same page on two different levels, right? First, getting all 6 members of our leadership team swimming and rowing in the same direction of what good looked like. That was one challenge. But as I tie that to service delivery, right? Service delivery in an MSP is the most expensive, right? It's the largest team, right? It's the largest execution of the operations. And so you have your greatest opportunity to succeed and your greatest potential to not succeed, right? If you look at it that way. And so you really want to make sure you're as clear as possible. And I would say early on in our journey, I'll kind of pick on myself a little bit. From my seat and from my lens, it was very easy for me to say, that team operates this way, and here's the things we need to focus on that team. And this team operates that way, and just kind of sum it up that way. And some of the things that EOS was, that structure and the level 10 meeting and all that stuff, the same page meetings, it really drove some great critical thinking conversations. And I would say one of the challenges I think right out of the gate as a leader, was to kind of check my own agenda at the door, really at the end of the day, is to really create an environment where there was no consequences to say what they thought, the direction they thought needed to go, and so it took some time to get to that point. Not to say that we had a bad culture. We've always had a fantastic culture, but it was an adjustment, right? You'd had leadership that would come down and be like, okay, hey, this is how we're doing, how we did last month. Here's some adjustments we're going to make and drive it forward, right? That was kind of my MO. But now, in kind of leading towards what good looks like and leading towards legacy, if you will, right? You got to set, in order for me to do that, I needed to understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish, and also set the expectations and the next steps for the next level of leaders. And that took some time. That was definitely a challenge because you set things in motion and you realize, I kind of gave a little bit too much autonomy there, or, I didn't give enough autonomy, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. No, definitely. And Rob, another challenge that I see for you especially is that M&A is a big piece of your growth strategy. And when you do that, what I hear in the channel is that when you acquire other companies, and when it comes to standard tool set or standard solution stack, it becomes even more challenging. Because when you are acquiring these companies, not everyone is going to be using the standard solution stack that you have or the tool set that you have. So can you talk to us a little bit about the challenges and the greatest lesson that you have learned so far in the area of that integrating other companies that you are acquiring, and how to bring them into to the same solution stack or standard tool set?
So, Sunny, that's a great question. I would answer it like this: as far as lessons learned, as we talked about it earlier, culture being such a crucial part of that, and something that's something that needs to be preserved. Kevin's done a great job of setting the tone as we go in to these companies and trying to we always try to put ourselves in a position from their lens, right? How are they looking at, from their shoes? What is this like? What are they thinking? We try to be as transparent as we possibly can be, with the understanding of kind of the thoughts that are going on in their head. As far as lessons learned, I would say, culture being so important, sometimes you get glimpses that, something might, you see a pattern or whatever it may be of something that might operate outside or be outside of what you find acceptable of core values, or, who we are as a company, right? And the thing that I would encourage people is to, don't take the sledgehammer approach and just go, address it, right? But be cognizant of it and be intentional about addressing it, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things that if you deal with it the right way, you make a believer, right? You get somebody that feels even more so fulfilled, even more so connected to the family, as a company, if you do it right? If you don't handle it right, it can spread, and it's, we all know, we've all been there, right? When we haven't addressed things like we should have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I hear normally when I'm talking to some other partners where they have done M&A. We haven't done any M&As so far, but when I talk to other partners, they're like, the people side is the biggest kind of biggest struggle that they have. How to bring, because you are working with human beings, and now they are used to different different culture, the culture that they were in. So the biggest struggle that they will have is how to bring them on board with your culture and things, the way, your company way of doing things. And even at IT by Design, right? So one thing that we see is that's the biggest piece. That's where majority of my time goes as well. Because especially in the leadership team, you have big personalities. And even at IT by Design, we have people from within, and we are developing people from within, growing people from within, and majority of people in our leadership layer, LMA layer, they are homegrown. But still, it takes a lot of energy to keep everyone moving in the same direction with the right mindset, everything based on our core values. And I can only imagine what you will have to go through when you bring people, especially at the LMA layer from other organizations. It must be taking a lot of time and energy. And is there any, so you have to kind of share one thing, the greatest lesson that you have learned, which can help other people with that people component side. What would be that?
You put me on the spot. Be true. Some of this stuff is just, to me, it's a given, but it's really easy to just go with the flow. But I would say definitely, be true to who you are as a company. Also, try to put yourself in their shoes. So, as an example, obviously, we've so far we've acquired 3 different companies. 2 of them had pretty clean core values in terms of what how they operate and what was important to them. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, I learned a lot about, especially this last one, about their core values and what was important to them. And for me, from an operations standpoint, I got right out of the gate some pretty strong resistance to, to doing things kind of quote unquote the ICS way. And what I learned was, meet them where they're at. I say that because it was, the people from that team there know exactly what I'm talking about if they're listening. That was one of their core values, meet them where they're at. And that really, really struck a chord with me because, everybody does things for a reason. Everybody just spends their time. Everybody, there's things that make people tick, right? At the end of the day, they want to feel fulfilled, right? And as somebody that's coming in that is potentially a facilitator of change, if you will, right? You're somebody that's a potential threat to them. And let me tell you, if you meet them where they're at, if you meet people where they're at and understand where they're coming from, it's much easier for them to buy into the why, your why, as long as it's defined about, hey, we're going here and here's why we're going here. And I will also say, the question you asked me earlier, just to add on, one of my favorite things about the solution stack side of it, this is more practical, but I love it when they're different solution stack. Obviously, it poses some challenges, but there's just it's other ways, creative ways to do things. And when you bring them into the, around the table and you say, hey, help me understand why you guys do it this way. I think this is really creative, or another way you can go about it. They're like, oh, let me tell you our story and why we do it. And it's a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when we were talking with people component and just hiring one person, recently we have hired a few people in our leadership team. And very recently, someone who is in the first probably that 90 days journey treated a customer in a different way, probably what he has learned from the company that he used to be with. And then it was kind of an eye opener that you covering everything during the onboarding, that this is who we are, this is how our approach to partner success. And then person realizing, hey, I'm learning something new here because I'm used to this. This is why I did it this way. And the partner got upset a little bit. He's like, normally I don't see this at IT by Design. And so talking about that importance of leaders that you're hiring or leaders that are coming into your team through M&A, importance of that expectation setting from day one, that this is
right.
Who we are, this is how we deliver service, and our uniques and everything that we talk about in the EOS. So getting that, having that taken care of in the beginning. And if there is any challenge, any issue, not waiting, just kind of head on, right? So in the beginning, Absolutely. It's much easier than when that problem grows, and it's very hard to handle at that time. I know that you are very much focused on leadership development. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the importance and what you are doing at ICS that's working for you in terms of developing leaders from within?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's no shortage of material and books that you can read about building and cultivating good leaders. For me, it starts with a passion, right? I love it when somebody, this might sound crazy, when somebody doesn't see the potential, their own potential, but I see their potential. And to just have somebody come alongside them, to believe in them, and to see them accomplish things that they may not have ever thought that they would be able to accomplish, but they are moving in that direction. Some of the things that I've started to use, especially since we're on this faster pace growth strategy, Evolve has a great tool called a leadership alignment plan. This is something we've employed about a year ago, and I have not rolled it out completely to the organization or to all the next level leaders, but there's some key things in there, right? The 5-question clarity, right? What are we trying to accomplish, right? It ties their visibility to the bigger picture, right? It also ties it into the part that they contribute. Where do they fit in? What are their resources and boundaries? I've found that boundaries is one of the things that most leaders leave out for the people they're responsible for, the people that they're trying to mentor. They don't really strike those boundaries. I mean, that's a really important thing. It's really interesting. I've found that other leaders push the boundaries when they're defined, and they push them in a good way. Not in when I don't define, let's say, and if I just, this is what you're going to be doing. This is kind of what I want you to focus on. Here's what good looks like. Go, right? They kind of just like drift out there, But if you say, here's the metrics. Here's what good looks like, right? Here's your people. Here are your resources to accomplish this. Here's where you can make decisions. Here's where I need to get involved, right? And I'm not getting too granular when I say that, but just at a high level, our conversations are more direct. Their accomplishments are more regular when it comes to that, right? They commonly hit their targets and they hit them faster. So that was a huge learning thing for me. What's in it for me? Right? If a lot of leaders, another thing, don't really define what's in it for them. How do I hit this? If I hit this, what good looks like? What's in it for me? And then consistently, how am I doing? And that's where just the constant checkpoints, consistent ways of measuring performance, and also kind of that emotional check-in, right? Because let's just face it, right? We're all leaders. We all go about our day, and it feels a lot more times than not. It feels like, am I making a difference? Am I growing in the right direction? It doesn't always feel like I am, right? And you just need that emotional check-in, somebody to say, hey, no, you're doing great. Hey, let's regroup, or let's pivot and let's go in this direction here. And I just tell you, when you lead that way with people, they'll do the exact same thing for other people. And it's just a momentum that it's like a freight train. You can't synthesize it. It's got to be done that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And leadership alignment is key, right? Because if your leadership layer is aligned with the VTO, with your vision, with the culture, and the other layers will automatically follow that. And having said that, in the new norm, majority of our people are working remotely and working from home. And you have a team with us in our India office as well. So you're probably used to that remote leadership. Can you, are you doing something at ICS, you or your other leaders, to keep everyone engaged in this new setup that we're working under?
So that's a great question, Sunny. I would say as part of the EOS structure, we have weekly level 10 meetings to make sure that each team is engaged, and that's across the whole company. One of the things that Kevin's done a pretty solid job at is staying connected with the team. Just, as this time during COVID, there's a lot of thoughts, bouncing around in people's heads about what's the future hold and whatnot. Kevin's done a great job with keeping consistent with that. And so we'll do, video meetings to just where he'll give it just a high level company update. And then outside of that, I would say, it's some of it, it's muscle and feel, but the directors have a very solid pulse at each location that if they see, a team is off or any individual people that they check in and, have kind of a little bit more of those, emotional check-ins, if you will, just the personal check-ins with people.
I totally agree with especially the L10 piece, because if there is someone who's not using EOS, they are just missing a big piece to run your business efficiently and keep everyone moving in the same direction. We adopted EOS last year, and it's very lightweight. It's very easy to kind of implement. And I am just so glad that we did that before this, this entire thing started. And L10s. So we, as leaders, cross-functional leaders, meet at 9 a.m. And then our next layers, N-1 and -2 and -3, they all meet in the morning for 10, 15 minutes. They start with that positive focus, that gratitude focus, more on wins. What is our win from the last day? Previous day. And it just keeps everyone on the same page, no matter if you're working from office or home. It gives you the opportunity to see everyone. So it's good for your mindset. And then it also helps you if you're stuck somewhere, giving that opportunity to people where they can bring their obstacles there for that day. And then on a weekly basis, you do your IDS and everything where people feel heard. They're part of that you're co-creating your next week plan. And it's an amazing, amazing engagement tool. And on top of that, what you mentioned, where Kevin does that CEO check-in, we do something called Coffee with Community in the morning. The concept is same. It's the CEO check-in. I get on a call that, hey, is everyone doing well? And just having that Q&A and keeping everyone on the same page with a cup of tea, coffee, depends, in the US, it's a coffee time. And in India, for our India team, it's more like evening drink time. And I hope they're not drinking Irish coffee with us. They're probably drinking some water or something of that nature. So with the Coffee with Community. And then we have 1 or 2 sessions as well, Rob, which is one is mental resilience. So we hired a life coach for our team, where the life coach will be there for an hour, doing some teaching at the same time, making it very interactive Q&A, because a lot of people are going through a lot of challenges, and we want to make sure that we bring in expert as well. And we have a meditation yoga session once a week, and on top of that, like from the learning perspective, like a book club on a monthly basis. So we're doing a little bit more fun activities this year so that everyone feels entertained, everyone feels engaged a little bit. But L10 is one of those things. If you are MSP and you don't have EOS or any operating system that you want to use, you can be using Scaling Up, EOS, or other systems that are out there. And I'm sure there are 3-4 major ones for small businesses, but you've got to be able to use one. And meeting rhythm is the best way to keep your team on the same page and moving in the same direction. So thank you so much, Rob. Amazing, valuable insights that you have shared with us today. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your experiences with our viewers. We truly appreciate this partnership. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Sunny. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Rob. And to you, the viewers, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this episode. Man, there were a lot of great nuggets dropped. So if you took 1 or 2 away, please honor us with a like, a share, a subscribe, and be sure to click that notification bell so you don't miss future episodes. And we'll see you in the next one.